Hi, my name is Patricia Ruiz and I'm a bilingual speech-language pathologist, and today I am here because I want to teach you a few tips on how to give your 2 to 3-year-old a little bit of speech therapy if you wanted to do it at home. So one of the things that we look for in a 2-year-old, 2 to 3-year-old is if they're using verbs, right? And we want to make sure that they're using present progressive verbs. These verbs are verbs that have the ing attached to them. So I'm going to teach you some exercises that I would do with a patient if they needed to learn how to do the present progressive. And I'm going to teach you a few other exercises to use to be able to teach your child pronouns, because pronouns is another developmental milestone that we as SLPs look for when your child is between the ages of 2 to 3. We want to make sure that they identify gender, such as boy or girl, and that they're able to use he and she. So in this video, I'm going to show you the tools and some of the materials that I actually use if you were to bring in your toddler to me and they didn't know these developmental milestones that we are in search of when they're this age. So first, I'm going to start with boy and girl, right? We want to teach our toddlers gender, and then once they learn the gender, we want to be able to teach them the pronoun, which is he or she. Obviously, there's a lot more advanced pronouns. There's him and her, and they, we, us. But for this purpose and for 3-year-old purpose, we're only looking to see if they know boy, girl, he or she. So the way I would start is I usually try to have a tangible toy. And for this purpose, for this exercise, I like to use little people. I'm a fan of little people. I love little people. There's so many different varieties, so many different kinds of little people. You could just literally use any of them. So first, I would have my toddler sort them. So I'm going to have all the girls and I'm going to put them together, and all the boys and I'm going to put them together. So the first exercise, when they don't know, at all anything about boy and girl, we're going to go with sorting. Sorting means categorizing. We want them to categorize that all the girls, are here and all the boys are here, right? So first we would say, okay, let's put all the girls here and let's put all the boys here. And you're going to hand one to your toddler and say, where does the girl go? And we want them to group them. Where does the boy go? We want them to sort them. Once you've given them enough trials and you realize that, okay, they're able to sort them and categorize them, then we want to move to boy and girl. So we're going to say, okay, this is a blank, and we want them to put it in the girl pile, right? And this blank kind of statement, we call it a carrier phrase, and we use carrier phrase so it makes it easier for the child to be able to fill in the blank. So we're going to put this is a girl in here, and then we're going to use this is a boy, and we're going to put them in here. We're always going to try to sort them because it gives them something to do with their hands, right? It's also something tangible that they can touch, and sorting them is kind of going to sort them in their head about that this is a boy, it goes he, and this is a girl, it goes she. So once you've been able to sort them under boy and girl, we're going to do she. So we're going to say this is a she, put all the she in this pile, put all the he's in this pile, right? So we're going to try to make sure that they're able to split the categorize of boys and girls, and then we're going to do he or she. So this is something you can use repeatedly over and over again, once a day for a few days, and sort them over and over again until your child is able to successfully use he or she. And then once you've moved on from the little people, you can use books, right? Books are two-dimensional, so we would be able to say, like, can you please point to the girl and then point to the boy? Because now we know that they're identifying it and they're able to sort it, right? We already did the sorting exercises with the little people. So then once your child successfully is able to point and identify the different ones, like point to a girl, point to a boy, once they're about 80% accuracy on it, I would move to point to the she and then point to the he. I wouldn't move to what is this? Is this a boy or a girl, until we've managed to get them to be able to point correctly, right? And then we would say, is this a boy or a girl? You would give them an option. Once they've identified, once they've pointed, once they've sorted, once we've covered boy or girl, we would go and move forward to asking, is this a boy or a girl? And you would give them the option. Once they've mastered answering you correctly, you would then ask them, is this a he or a she? Once they've mastered that, then you would move on to what's this, right? And you expect he or she, boy or girl. Obviously, there's a hierarchy of these pronouns. So we would ask boy or girl first, and then we would teach, she and he. We're not going to teach he and she without teaching boy and girl. This takes time and it takes practice. So if you would do these little exercises 10-15 minutes with your child every single day for a few weeks, your child will be able to catch the concept of the gender of boy and girl and he or she. That's how I would do it if you brought them to my office. It's a simple way, and you'd be surprised at how easy a child will be able to catch on and how much fun they would have and how less stressful and frustrated it would be for you as mom. So the next tip that I wanted to show you guys in this little video is present progressive, right? Present progressive is, like I said before, it's the verb that has the attached ing to it. And we do this because we want to make sure that the child doesn't just know just a regular verb. Like if we ask them, what is she doing? We don't want to hear run. We want to hear running, right? So how do we teach the ing part to a toddler? So I use this book for multiple reasons, as you saw. This Little People book is awesome because it's durable. It doesn't break, right? The pages are pretty hard. It has really pretty pictures. It's very colorful. There's a lot of little people doing a lot of different things. You could teach labeling. You can ask, what's this? What's this? What's this, right? You can have them identify. You can have them identify verbs like, show me the one that's running, show me the one that's sliding. So you could do so many different things. It has very different settings. It has different jobs. It has a lot of things. I totally recommend this book because it's a book you could use for so many purposes without having to have so many other books for the same purpose. So how would I teach present progressive? I would do it as such, right? First, we're going to pick 3 verbs from this whole book. We're not going to go and teach the whole entire page or pages or even flip the page at this point. We're going to just pick 3 of them because we don't want it to be overwhelming for the child and we don't want it to be overwhelming for mom either. So we're going to pick 3. I'm going to pick common verbs we do all the time. So I'm going to pick running, I'm going to pick sitting, and I'm going to pick waving. Waving is another milestone that we need toddlers to be able to do. We need them to wave hi, we need them to wave bye. So I'm going to pick things that I expect my toddler to be able to do. So I'm going to do waving, sitting, and running. And then once I've identified the verbs that I'm going to use, I am going to start asking my child to point, right? And I also, side note, want to talk to you a little bit about pointing. Pointing has to do with language skills. So the more your child can point, the correlation to their language skills being higher in the future are good. So we want to teach pointing. If your child cannot point, that's okay. You're just going to grab your hand over hand, grab the child, and just have them point. So first we're going to point. Which one is waving? And then we're going to point. Yes, this one's waving. Which one is sitting? Yes, this one's sitting. Which one is running? So once your child is able to identify these 3 verbs by pointing with their pointing finger, we're going to start to move on to others. This may take a little bit of time, but you want to set up your child for success. You don't want to give them tasks that are too hard and then they fail at it. We as therapists want to set up our patients for success. That's why I personally pick very simple goals at first, because I want to build self-esteem. I want to build good language. I want to build the want to try and win and get it right. So if you give them hard tasks, your child's going to be disappointed and it might feel, anxious about it. And that's what we don't want to do. So you're going to pick just 3 very simple ones. You're going to ask them to point. You can go through pages of the book doing other things, Oh my gosh, this one is throwing the trash away. This one is walking. This one is reading. You can go through it 10-15 minutes, go back to the first page again, and we're going to start again. Which one is waving? And this is how I would do it if you were to bring my child to the clinic. So on the next few sessions, I would move up from identifying. So now that we can point and we could identify, we're going to try to label the verb, right? And we're going to use at first a carrier phrase, like I explained a little bit earlier, because this makes it very simple for the child to be able to fill in the blank. And we're going to make it even simpler. So I'm going to say, this child is run, and we want the child to say ing. That's all we're expecting. We just want the ing part of the verb. And then we're going to do the same thing with sit. This one is sit, and we expect to hear the ing as well. Same goes with waving. So we're going to do this over and over again until we're able, the child gets that we're only waiting the ing. So it doesn't matter what verb you put in front of them, you're going to ask for the ing part. So you're going to say running. Then, like I said, you can move on to other activities while you take a little break from asking, and then you would ask again. Once your child is able to do the ing part of the verb, which is what we want, because we're assuming that your child already knows verbs, and now we're adding the progressive part of the verb, which is the ing part to the verb. So we're going to take away the carrier phrase and we're going to drop it to the word. So we're going to say this child is, and we want the child to say running, sitting, waving. That's what we're looking for. And then once your child is able to accomplish that, we're just going to say, what is he doing? Or yes, what is he doing? And we want plain, independently answer, one answer, running. Once your child has mastered that, you can move on to adding other verbs. And then do it exactly the same way. So you're going to add, let's say you're going to add reading, and now we're going to do painting, and then we're going to do walking. So then next week, you're going to say, okay, we're going to do walking, drawing, reading, and then we do it all over again, just like I just explained. This way, your child will be able to do present progressive. They will be able to identify the verb, they'll be able to label the verb, and then they'll be able to answer a question independently when you ask, what is she doing or what is he doing? So these tips and these exercises will have many different functions, and they're very helpful to be able to go through the milestones and be able to hit most of them that you need for a child between the ages of 2 to 3. So this book is very, very helpful. I am a fan of this book because we could do adjectives, we could do actions, we could do present progressive, you could do boy and girl like we discussed, and you can also do clothing items and body parts, because that is another important goal that we look for. Does your child identify their body parts, and do they know their clothing items? So you would do exactly the same. You always pick 3 things and start from the bottom, and then you're going to ask them to identify, and then you're going to ask to label with the carrier phrase, and then you're going to ask the independent question. That is the way that I move through the hierarchy of teaching patients or children different things without overwhelming them, and doing it in an organized manner. So for today, I want to thank you for watching. I urge you to leave me your questions or comments or anything you may need. Also, if you want more little tips, I am starting to put a lot of things up on Instagram and on other kinds of social platforms. So we'll talk and see each other soon. Thank you.